Series 9's Hell-Bent is one of the most hated episodes of Doctor Who, but I think it had a lot of potential to be one of the best finales in the show. In this video, I'm going to discuss what I liked about the episode, what I don't like, and how this episode can be made great, mostly with just one big change. Okay, so Hell-Bent is the Series 9 finale, which takes place after Clara's death in Face the Raven, and after the Doctor's escape from the confession dial in Heaven Sent. The episode focuses on the Doctor's attempts to save Clara from her death by deceiving the Time Lords on Gallifrey, and it's become one of the most controversial episodes in the show for reasons I'll get into later on. But for me personally, I don't hate it as much as most people seem to, although I do think it could have been improved in a number of ways, and I'm going to get into those changes in this video. But before I get into what I don't like about this episode, I first have a couple confessions to make. Series 9 is actually one of my favourite series of Doctor Who, and I think is one of the most underrated series in the whole show. It opens with a fun two-parter featuring some great scenes between the Doctor and Davros. I love that the series mostly comprises of two-part episodes. It really feels like it's harkening back to the classic era serials, which took place over multiple parts, and it has some incredible and very memorable moments, such as the speech at the end of the Zygon two-parter.
This is a scale model of war. Every war ever fought right there in front of you. Because it's always the same. When you fire that first shot, no matter how right you feel, you have no idea who's going to die. You don't know whose children are going to scream and burn. How many hearts will be broken? How many lives shattered? How much blood will spill until everybody does what they were always going to have to do from the very beginning? Sit down and talk!
And the scene where the Doctor breaks the fourth wall to explain the bootstrap paradox in Before the Flood.
Who really composed Beethoven's Fifth?
However, it definitely has some forgettable episodes, and it even has some terrible but experimental episodes as well. But for me personally, I do think it is the overall best Capaldi series, which I know might be quite a controversial take. And I feel like the main reason it's overlooked is due to episodes such as Sleep No More, and because of its underwhelming finale, which is obviously the subject of this video. And the other confession I have to make is that I like Clara. She's actually one of my favourite companions. I just personally think she's overly hated on, with people seeing her as being too special and just a mystery box. However, she's not the first companion to be seen as incredibly special right from the get-go.
We were always heading for this. You came to the TARDIS. Then you found me again. Your granddad, your car. Donna, your car. You parked your car right where the TARDIS was going to land. That's not coincidence at all.
But you're talking like destiny.
And she's definitely treated as more than just a mystery box, at least in the Capaldi era, where they have great chemistry and share some really important character moments. So with those confessions out the way, I first want to start with what I actually liked about this episode. Personally, I really enjoy the framing device of the Doctor telling a story to Clara in the diner. I think it's a really unique way to tell a story, and we haven't really seen many episodes be told in this format before. And I love the reveal that it's actually the Doctor who doesn't remember who Clara is in the end, not the other way around. However, as much as I like this, with the changes I'm going to make, this unfortunately isn't going to stay that way. I also like that this episode ends with the Doctor realizing that his and Clara's relationship is a toxic relationship.
You and me, together, look how far I went. For fear of losing you. This has to stop. One of us has to go.
And as I said at the start of this video, I actually like this episode more than most people do, but it definitely isn't perfect, and there is a few things that I don't like about this episode. The first thing is that this episode comes right after one of the best episodes of New Who, both in terms of visuals and storytelling. Now, obviously, my changes aren't really going to be able to fix this, although I do feel like they at least make Hell-Bent coming right after this episode make a little bit more sense, which I'll get into later on. Another thing that I don't like about the episode is the reveal of the hybrid. It's a very disappointing reveal, especially in comparison to other mystery phrases and stuff like that we've got in previous seasons, such as Bad Wolf and the Missing Planets in Series 4. And there's also never a definitive answer given as to what the hybrid actually is in the episode, although obviously it's heavily hinted at being the Doctor and Clara. But the main thing that I don't like about this episode is that Clara doesn't stay dead. As much as I said I liked Clara, she definitely should have stayed dead at the end of this episode, and I don't know whether this was due to Jenna Coleman wanting to stay on even longer, or whether it's with Moffat's obsession with not wanting to kill off characters and to give them a happy ending.
Everybody lives, Rose. Just this once. Everybody lives!
But she definitely needed to stay dead for this episode to work. So with all that being said, it's now time to get on to what I would actually change about this episode in order to fix it and make it possibly a great episode. The first minor change I would make to this episode is just to remove the whole hybrid arc and reveal, because like I said, it's just quite a disappointing reveal and I just don't think it really needed to be there in the first place. As much as I love the mysteries that go on throughout the series, this one just never really intrigued me and the reveal was just so disappointing. So it could definitely have done with either not having a mystery at all throughout the series or just having a different series story arc that was a little bit more interesting. But that's only a minor change that I wanted to make to this episode. The main change that I want to make to fix this episode and actually make it a great story is that it needed to end with Clara staying dead. Now for me personally, this is actually how I expected the episode to go with some of the earlier scenes.
Doctor. Please. I don't want this.
You killed that man. You shot him. He's dead.
It was him or you.
I don't care.
4.5 billion years. Why would you even do that? I was dead. I was dead and gone. Why would you even do that to yourself?
We do not have time.
No, my time.
My time is up, Doctor. Between one heartbeat and the last is all the time I have.
And I feel like this episode should have really focused on the Doctor realizing his grief has taken him too far, which he does technically ultimately do.
I went too far. I broke all my own rules.
And realised that he's not allowed to bring someone back from the dead just because he can. This episode should have ended with a scene, maybe whilst they were in the classic TARDIS, where Clara tells the Doctor that it's okay and she has to go back to the Time Lords to be put back on Trap Street and face her death. Instead of wiping the Doctor's memory and saying she'll eventually go back the long way round after having plenty of adventures. But instead, at some point in the episode, she just kind of chooses to go along with the Doctor's plan and carry on flying away in the TARDIS with it, when really she should have been trying to convince the Doctor that he needs to take her back to Trap Street for her to die, as she should have realised that what he was doing is wrong and taking it too far. I feel like the previous episode would have helped reinforce this even better, as Heaven Sent is focused on the Doctor dealing with his grief of losing Clara. So that would help show us that he's going too far all out of grief just for losing Clara, and that any normal person around him should be able to realise that he's taking it a bit too far and breaking his own rules. Even Clara should be able to realise this and convince him otherwise. Now, as I said earlier, this does unfortunately mean that we would lose the framing device of the Doctor telling Clara the story, and the twist in the story being that it's actually the Doctor who doesn't know who Clara is, not Clara not knowing who the Doctor is. Which, like I said earlier, is one of my favourite parts of the episode, one of my favourite elements of this whole story. But obviously, if it's ending with Clara convincing the Doctor that he has to take her back to Trap Street to die, this element of the story just isn't going to be possible to fit in anywhere. So that would be a really unfortunate loss, but I still think overall this one big change would make the episode significantly better, as well as removing the hybrid reveal and that story arc as a whole, or maybe just making that reveal at least somewhat more interesting. Let me know in the comments how you think you would change Hellbent, or if you think Hellbent is actually fine as it is, and why you think it's a good episode. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing to the channel, and if you want to watch more Doctor Who videos, I've got a playlist right here, as well as a video that YouTube thinks you might like.